Locked in showcases at the top of a grim black monolith are some of the most expensive games of all time. I'm talking pricey Neo Geo games, coveted N64 disc games that are sealed, as well as complete in-box consoles that are probably going for a little bit more than you would expect. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the showcase at the Mandarake in Akihabara, the home of some of the most expensive games ever. Welcome to the showcase in Mandarake, Akihabara. We're going to be looking at, well, we're going to be looking at mostly Neo Geo, but from this footage, which I promised that I looked at a little bit beforehand, we're going to be looking at some what are, I think, rather expensive complete in-box Famicom systems. Now, at the left, we've got the AV Famicom. This one is special because it came out in I want to say 1993. It was a late release in Japan. And this was the easiest way, and I think is now the easiest way for you to play Famicom games on either your box TV or on your flat screen TV, because it has the regular AV out cables. So it's got the red, white, and yellow cables that come directly out of the system, which is not true of the family computer that is there in the back. That big gray box there, that is the OG Famicom. That is going for $150. And that's actually something you can find, I think, at a hard off for like 60 or 70, but that's a thing where you have to go out to the boonies, as opposed to if you are in the middle of Tokyo, that's actually not a bad price for a complete in-box Famicom. I've seen them go for like $200 at Super Potato. The real drawback of the original Famicom is, one, the controllers are hardwired to the console itself, and the AV out is actually done through the coax cable. You actually have to hook up an RF unit to the Famicom and then run coax cable from that RF unit into your TV. That's when you get the jail bars. It's not great. It's really, I think, more of a display piece at this point, although it can be modified, I think, to either do RGB out or to have that, what is it, composite? I always confuse component and composite, but composite out is an available modification, and actually they do sell some composite modified Famicoms in Akihabara. But I for one would go with that Famicom, the AV Famicom there in the very front, going for $180. Now that is steep, considering that you could, I think, easily find one in the box elsewhere for like $90. But Mandarake is well known for having very high prices on not just consoles, but the games that are in good condition. This apparently is not in great condition. It's been rated C. You can see there on the little tag right beneath the price, it has been rated, I would say, probably about a B average console. That, in terms of Mandarake, means that it's not in great shape. But if you're a foreigner like I am, you're probably used to games that are coming from GameStop, to systems that are coming with lots of scratches and dirt and scuff marks on them from GameStop. This is going to be in great condition, even though it's sort of in the bottom half of Mandarake's grade range. I don't know why they're selling it for $180 though. That seems steep even in Akihabara. At the exact same price is a Super Famicom Junior. They're in between those two Famicoms there. This is I can't remember what they called it, like the mini Super Nintendo. I can't remember what the American equivalent was, but this is the equivalent of a one-chip SNES. So it outputs the best possible visual quality from the console, but what they did to make this system cheaper back in the day was it actually does not output RGB. The Super Nintendo / Super Famicom actually outputs RGB natively through a SCART cable that you can pick up. This does not, and it also does not put out S-Video, unfortunately, which is my preferred way to play retro games. So it has that drawback. It is, I think, pretty sought after because it's a really cool form factor. I love the controller that has the unique Nintendo logo emblazoned on the top center of it, but otherwise, I mean, $180. Unless, I think there is a way to modify it to put RGB out, but $180 though, that seems like a lot. Oh wow, okay, I completely forgot about that. They had this. They have a 64DD set. Let me make sure that this is not just, let me look here. So this has the N64DD Mario Artist what is this? Talent Studio. This Mario Artist is sort of like an upgraded Mario Paint. This, I think, was a set that came with when you purchase the 64DD, Nintendo's insane idea of making magnetic discs for the N64. Despite the failure, mild success / ultimate failure of the Famicom disk system, they ended up trying to replicate that with the 64 back in like 96 or 97. I think it was actually delayed a while. It should have come out earlier. When you purchase the original N64 DD kit, I think it came with like 1 or 2 games, and then I think actually part of the subscription service sent you a bunch of games, of which all of these here I think are those games. It's F-Zero X expansion kit, where you have to combine this with the cartridge of F-Zero X that came out on the Nintendo 64. And I think the unique thing was that you could make courses and then I think share them online. I think to the right there is Doshin the Giant, I'm pretty sure. Then there's SimCity 64, which is different than SimCity 2000, which also came out on the N64 in Japan. There's the communication kit, which I think was the 64DD's web browser. And then you've got Polygon Studio. It's a Mario Artist game, but I'm not super familiar with the differences between the 3 Mario Artist games that came out for the 64DD. And holy crap, this is going for $1,500. Let's see, it comes with the RandNet disc, Doshin the Giant. Oh, and they're all sealed. So, okay, actually everything, so the RandNet disc and Doshin the Giant are opened. All of those games are sealed. That is actually really, really interesting because a 64DD set, although no, it just says soft set. Yeah, it doesn't say it actually comes with the, so it doesn't come with the DD itself. That's interesting because a 64DD along with this set of games would probably be about $1,000. So what Mandarake is doing is they're selling what is almost a complete original set of 64DD games. Wow, that's really interesting. I don't know how I would price those. That actually, because of the 64DD and how weird it is, that actually doesn't seem like that high of a price to me. But I also don't trust me on what I feel prices should be. Because we're going to be getting to the Neo Geo games, and holy crap. All right, so we've got Viewpoint there on the right. That's going for $1,200. As I'm filming this, it's about 108 yen to the dollar, and Mandarake actually does not include the price of tax in its games, meaning that if you are there in store, you will have to pay an extra, is it 10% now? It used to be 5%, but then when I was actually in Japan, it went up to like 8% and then 10%. It's either 8 or 10% now on top of these already expensive games. However, Mandarake does perform tax-free shopping. So if you've got your passport with you and you're in Japan as a visitor, you will have to pay the tax up front, but then you'll get the tax refunded to you in the store. So that's something you can do if you have the time. Viewpoint is, I think, a really interesting isometric shooter. I don't think I've ever seen a game like it. So it's sort of like at that, like, what would you say, like 45-degree angle, going from left to right at a little bit of a slope, that kind of shooter. I've never seen anything that I think approaches how weird Viewpoint is. But this is a game that I think you can get on the Neo Geo CD for like $30. Polestar to its left in the center of your screen. That's going for $2,800. Polestar made by, I think, a bunch of the folks that made R-Type. So Polestar is a horizontally scrolling shooter. It's fine. I'm not the biggest fan of R-Type like shooters, so I don't know if I would personally, if I would say a millionaire, I don't know if I would spend $2,800 on Polestar, but it's very well respected. Although I do think I saw it at Friends around the time that I captured this footage for about $2,000. So what's great about Mandarake is if you can find these Neo Geo games in like a C grade or below, if you could say if what Mandarake considers to be not that great, you can actually maybe find some deals on Neo Geo there. There's King of Fighters 2003, as well as Rage of the Dragons. Is Rage of the Dragons? No, that's a 2D fighter. There is another one. Actually, no, it's Sengoku 2001. They're over on the far left. I believe that was released as Sengoku 3 abroad, but in Japan, it's Sengoku 2001. It's a fine side-scrolling beat 'em up, and it is one of the rarer games for the system, which is saying something considering how expensive Neo Geo games are. This is going for almost $3,000, and I want to say I only saw it a little bit cheaper at Trader just down the street. We've also got Garao, Mark of the Wolves, which I've always been surprised that it's going for $1,300. It is one of the pricier games, and especially because I always thought the fighting games for the Neo Geo would have been cheap across the board, but we're going to be looking at some expensive ones. I don't actually know how to read the kanji there on that middle one, but then we've got Samurai Spirits Ray. That's going for $1,900. There are actually two versions of this game, one the original release and then an updated version. I think the updated version is more expensive because they released it in much more limited quantities. I want to say Samurai Spirits Ray is Samurai Showdown 5 outside of Japan, and I believe that actually didn't that just get a re-release recently, or like wasn't released abroad, but then it finally was for like the Switch and the PS4. So you'll probably, you know, save $2,000 by buying the new release of the game. Here are the Metal Slugs. So, oh wow, I'm rubbing my hands together because we're going to be looking at some really expensive games. We'll go from right to left. On the right, we've got Metal Slug 3. We've got the copy on the left going for $2,300. The copy on the right is going for $2,500. Now, why would that be? So let's zoom in on the price tags and evaluate these games. So they're both actually graded the same across the board. The cartridge is graded a C, the box is graded a C, the manual is graded a B. But what is differentiating these two, and you can actually look at here on the notes on the price tag, is that there's apparently big damage, Itami Dai, on the cartridge label. Now, what does that exactly mean? Well, you could probably actually go up to the counter and ask the clerk to open up the game for you, show the contents, and then you can make your decision as to whether or not you will actually purchase the game after you take a look at the cartridge. But I will tell you from the games that I've bought from Mandarake, the games that I've seen at Mandarake, when I see something like Itami Dai, when I see big damage written on a label, especially in Mandarake, it means that there is normally damage in Mandarake would mean a microscopic flake that you could only see with a jeweler's loupe. But if it says Itami Dai, that probably means something that you can see with your naked eye, but would probably be hard to see from a distance. That's what I'm assuming is the big damage here. And that's why this copy is going for $200 less than the one on the right. Now, if you look to that left and you look at Metal Slug 4, you've got the copy on the right going for $1,900. The copy on the left is going for $1,400. So what explains that difference? Well, for one, the cartridge is graded a B on the right and has an A graded manual. So you've got that difference there, and there's apparently even some more damage to the cartridge in the game on the left. So if you want to save $500 for the same game that I'm going to say are 99% qualitatively the same, pick up the copy on the left. And if I was a millionaire going out to buy Neo Geo games, I would be buying the one on the left. But that's just my personal preference. I don't care that much about the condition of my games as long as they aren't too beat up. Then on the far left, we've got Metal Slug 5 going for, oh man, an eye-popping $3,700. I love Metal Slug, but I think I'd rather get the collections, or, you know, there are other, perhaps more nefarious ways that you can play these games on the original hardware. And then Metal Slug 2, you gotta love it. That is such a huge price difference. Look at that. Metal Slug 2 going for either $2,900 or $3,700, based just on the condition. Man, Neo Geo, I did not know Neo Geo collectors were that cutthroat with the price of their games, or what they're willing to spend on these games. Oh, look at this Metal Max series. I didn't think this would be in the showcase here, but these are actually some of the sought-after Nintendo DS games. DS has been going up in price recently, and Metal Max is one of those like RPG series that I guess didn't sell well back in the day, but do have some hype around them now, because you're seeing these are all limited editions, though. They are actually, even in their regular editions, a little expensive, going for like 50 or 60 bucks now that I think about it. But Metal Max 3, 4, and Reloaded going there for a total of what's that? Probably $600 there. You know, a little bit under, maybe 500. Then, ooh, oh wow, how interesting. So we go from Neo Geo AES to Neo Geo games ported to the PlayStation. And the more that I see these in showcases, the more we show them in videos, I'm gonna have to say it, but this is what we're gonna be seeing now, is that ports of older games for newer systems. So at the time, the PlayStation 2 was the new system, the Neo Geo was the old system. They ported these games to the systems, and this seems to be consistent across all genres and consoles, as these in Japan hold their value. So we might, I don't think we'll see it in this showcase, but we've seen it in others where games ported to the PlayStation, say like Famicom games ported to the PlayStation, those like the Sunsoft collection can be $700 for Mr. Gimmick and Battle Formula. Here we've got the complete box set of Neo Geo games for the PlayStation 2 going for $780. That is really surprising to me, although actually it appears some of them have not been opened. Some of these are actually sealed, which would be affecting the price, although even if all of these were secondhand, they'd still be pretty expensive. If you thought some of these Neo Geo games were expensive, there is a lot more in this showcase that I haven't even got to yet. There's even more consoles, portable consoles, that I'm going to showcase in the next video, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit for that. But if you want direct access to more game hunting videos, in-depth game hunting videos where we look at some really, really cool and rare stuff, you can head over to patreon.com/jcontra. There you will get a monthly game hunting video where I go even more in depth than I do here, as well as regular articles where I talk about expensive games for systems that are voted on by patrons. Hope to see you in the next video. I've been your man out of Japan, Jay Contra. Thanks for watching, and mahalo. I want to give a special thanks to all of my patrons who make videos like this possible, as well as to super patron Zip Davis.